Hello, everybody. There's a lot of music playing right now. I think it's just about to stop. Hi, everyone. My name's Annie, and I'm the film curator for the festival. It's a gathering based on the principles of building community, celebrating the beauty of our world's diverse cultures, while learning about how to deconstruct the capitalist models of living and rebuild regenerative ones that honor the earth and the guardians who look after it for future generations. I'd like to welcome everyone joining us from our extended medicine family around the world today to this live Q&A for the film The 12, which is available to watch from now until Friday at 12 p.m. midday UK time on our website, medicinefestival.com/Moviemedicine. I'm calling in today from my home in Ohlone territory, which is now known as Santa Cruz in California. We're thrilled to have the guest with us today. We've got the two co-directors of the film The 12, alongside a very special guest. So I'd first like to welcome our very special guest, Otsi'tsaken. We're deeply honored to have you with us. You appeared in the 12 film, and you are from the Bear Clan of the Mohawk Nation of Haudenosaunee, or the people of the Longhouse. I'd really like to welcome you here to say some words with us, a little bit about what a faith keeper is, and can you talk to us a little bit about where the Mohawk Nation is so we can better understand where you're calling from today?
Okay. I guess to begin with, if you look at and understand who we are as a people, and you go back to our creation, in our creation stories, when the Creator made all things on this earth and in this world, all the things of the earth and of the sky, and He blended them all together and gave them one piece of the work to make the cycle of life function. And all things of the earth function in this cycle of life. And when He had made all of that, in our stories they say, things that I've heard is now He made a day, and He went to the river and He picked up the living earth. And now He molded He could see in the water His image. And He molded a human being in the image that He saw on that reflection. And He took that piece of His mind and He gave us that human being His mind. And He took the fire from His body, His life force, and He put it in the blood of that human being. And He breathed in His mouth 3 times the air, and that human being began to live. That was our ancestors. And He, in the story as it goes, He also made a female life, a woman. And He saw that this male being and this woman now, He gave her the same, His life force and His mind and His breath. And He's not now, you will work together and you will walk on this earth. And He introduced them to all of the things of the world. And He said, there's the wind, there's the sun, there is the moon. All of these things are here for you. These are things that you will use. Here's what we call the foods and the strawberry plants and all the things that you will eat. They work for you. And what He said all of these things work to give life. And the only thing that the Creator asked of us is that we give thanks for everything that we get, and that we give thanks because we are included in that cycle of life. We're only one little piece. We're not more important than the worm, or we're not lesser than the worm. We're not more important than the bird life or a tree. We're equal in this cycle of life. And so the Creator, He gave us those memories and those reminders about what we should be as people. And we're called Ungwe. It means real people. We came from Skyworld long time before, and we brought our spirit to this earth and put it into that living earth. And that living earth, that means we're real people. It doesn't mean Indian. It doesn't mean indigenous. It means real people, people of the earth, people of spirit and life. And in our teachings, well, I think I told you, Dr. You, about that last night a little bit in our talks, is that human beings, we have a disease. And we understand, we listen to the Creator, what He told us, but we're forgetful. And so we forgot the original instructions. We forgot to give thanks. We took life for granted. And so that Creator, he brought us a message, and it's called death. And death is a reminder to all human beings that life should be always valued, and we should be always give thanks to, because the Creator gives us another day to live. Every day that we see the sunrise, we should give thanks for that. And we were given ceremonies and all these things to give thanks for the things in the cycle of life that give us life. And so many times along this journey of our creation, we forgot. We forgot to give thanks again, and we were given reminders. And in those reminders, there was a time when we forgot so much that we had lost everything. And the Creator sent a young boy to bring us a message. And he said, now he brought us the four sacred ceremonies. That means the ceremonies where we give the Creator's song, the Creator's dance, where we put the Creator first in front of us all the time. In this modern world, we see so much now that human beings have forgotten that. And you look around the world and you see people are putting the dollar bill in front of them. That's more important than the Creator, and the Creator is thrown to the side. And the earth is just a what do you call it? The collateral damage in this quest for money. And so we were reminded of those kinds of things all those years ago. And we were told that every human being, we should stand up in ceremonies and give thanks, send our voice to the natural world and thank the world because we're part of this, and because they care for us, we live. And we have ceremonies for sacred to give thanks for the cycle of life, and we dance and we thank them. And finally, we play a game that was played at the creation of the world called the Peach Stone, where the Creator and his twin, who was the opposite of the Creator, and they played for who's going to control this world. And if his opposite won, then all of life would end. But the Creator thought he enlisted all of the cycle of life, the birds and the wind and the thunder and all those things gave support to him, and they beat his twin brother in this game. And so now this is what we see in front of us. The wind still blows and the earth survives. But there's a whole bunch of stories. If we had hours and hours, we could talk about that. But in the end, what we see, why we're here today, we still live. As human beings, nothing has changed. As human beings, we're supposed to still give thanks for life. We're supposed to still care for our mother, the earth. We're still supposed to give thanks for the wind and the air that we breathe and the food that we eat. Our ceremonies are all about that. And so now you said, what does it mean to be a faith keeper? It's a term. In our language, we call that gayerin yori. It means that you work to take care of the four sacred ceremonies, to say we never put the Creator to the side. We always give thanks. We give thanks to the earth. We give thanks to the creation where all things work together. That's the role of a faith keeper. And what your job is you you work in whatever way you can to make sure that the ceremonies never end. that our drum never stops beating, that our songs never stop. Our voices touch the world that we live in. The birds hear our songs. Our tobacco, sacred tobacco, is burnt and it goes into the sky world. In all things of the earth and sky, listen, hear our words. And they see that human beings still care. And then because they see that, hear that, that we still value this relationship, then the world continues to exist. So that's the job of a faith keeper, is to try his best to do that. And so a lot of people, you see a lot of, there are men faith keepers, there are women faith keepers, and that's their role. And every person is different. My job, my role as a faith keeper, like what I said, is the first thing I ever learned, in the years that I listened to all these people around me, is that the first role of a human being, of a native person, is to be humble in front of the Creator, and to be thankful for His life. And so my job, in the way I have come to understand it, that I put ceremonies and all things in Longhouse Way first. There's nothing more important than the ceremonies and the things that we do, because without those things, this life that we have wouldn't exist. Without breath, without the air to breathe, life would not exist. Without the food growing, life would not exist. And on it goes. And a lot of times I tell people, if you think that you're more powerful than the earth, then hold your breath for a minute or two. You can't do that. And the earth will tell you that you need the air to breathe. Without it, you die. So that's my role, is to, uh, I never flatter myself in any way. I never think that I know so much. All I can do is, in my whole humble way, is I just try to continue the ceremonies in my community, and what I learned and what I heard, in what I can remember of that time. And I'm still like a child, I think, because I there are men that I look even to this day around, young men, people in all our communities, Onondaga, Six Nations, all our communities, the Senecas. They're amazing how much knowledge they carry and how much knowledge they hold. And I'm like a little piece of that knowledge, what I know. But you know what's more important is that the Creator gave us this thing where we're supposed to work together. We're supposed to put all our minds together, and we're stronger when we work together. So when our smoke from all communities goes into the sky, it blends, and creation hears. Look at all these people; they still care, they still give thanks, and we live because of that. And that's my role, and that's our role. And for me, I just turned 69 years of age, and so my job and my thinking is, uh, I was very lucky in my time to learn what little I know. There was a time in my 20s when I didn't speak my language, or I had only vestigial memories of language that my parents spoke, but I was not comfortable in my own language. So when I met my wife and we had our first baby coming, we said to ourselves, what do we have to offer our children coming? We have no language. We didn't have a culture that we knew about. We didn't understand a lot of who we are, our history. And so we went about that job from the time we met until this day. And we're almost married now for 49 years. We've been together. So, together, my wife and I, we've been on this journey. And our children have been on this journey with us. And now our grandchildren are on this journey with us. And this journey, the way we see it, is, uh, Everything we can do, what we can hold on to now, that's what we give to the children who are coming. And a lot of times we have ceremonies that deal when we somebody passes away and we release them to go into the sky world. And I think to myself, sometimes I have to do those things, and it's not the most enjoyable part of ceremony when you have to speak to the family who have just lost someone, speak in the amongst the tears and the hurt. Maybe when your own heart is hurting, and you have to fight through that and do that ceremony so that those people can feel better and understand what this thing is called death. And then I say to myself, so a lot of times the people will come and ask me, and I almost want to say no, I don't think I want to do it this time. But then my wife reminds me that if you don't do it and we don't continue this, who will do it for our children? And so we're supposed to, as a people, and I think all cultures will understand that, we're supposed to be looking 7 generations in our future to the ones they call the Hadigo Saduje. Their faces are they're still sticking out of the clay of the earth. They're waiting to be born. That's our future. And if we don't carry on our ceremonies, we don't we don't continue to make our languages strong. We don't carry on our songs and teach our ceremonies and our culture. What do we have to offer our children who are not yet born? What kind of a world will it be then when said the grandmother moon, we have ceremonies for her. When she no longer hears us giving thanks and respecting her, and then she stops her her greatest role, which is she works with women in the female cycle of a woman, the monthly cycle, and children no longer will be born. What kind of world will we live in then when no more children give their first cry, when they take their first breath, when they're born, when there are no more children on this world? That's what we that's what we need to think about in our future. That's the job of a. If you talk about the role of a faith keeper, is everybody should be a faith keeper. It's not just a title; it's a way of life. Each and every one of us, all over the world, we should be grateful that when we see another day, that the Creator gave us another day to live. We should give thanks to our mother. We should give thanks to all of the things around us, and be happy that the Creator allowed us another day. That's the role of all of us. And so, in a nutshell, that's what I see as my role as a faith keeper. It's a very humble, it's a very simple role. And so, like for me, my name is Otsi'tsaken. It means what I told you last night when we talked. My old friend Joe, his name is Clearwater. And he says, well, your name translates into speckled flower. Like a white flower, and it has speckles of dust on it. And he says that's what your name translates to. So I like that. I think that's a nice name to have. And you know, we that's the name I was given. I'm part of my mother is Bear Clan. So amongst our people, we're a people of clans. Really, that's about families. A long time ago, when death came and our people were all divided and nobody knew what to do any longer, the Creator gave us this gift, and He taught the people to go in different directions and see the different animals and the different clans. And so, from all the different uh, families, now everybody carried a clan. And now, when one clan would lose someone in death, then the clans on the other side would come and pick up their spirits. And when these ones would lose someone, then the other people would come and they would pick up the spirits. That's this gift that the Creator planted amongst us. It's called Gananukwa, caring for each other. And maybe That's if anything in this world we could plant that again. Maybe that's something we should talk about in this world, that we should care for each other as families and help each other and try to give thanks for life. You know, today we're so, it's just like we're all compartmentalized. We're all in all different directions. You know, in families, how many people have siblings and brothers or sisters and they're scattered all over the world? And maybe some of them don't see each other for years at a time. Maybe they never see their family again. And it's because the jobs that they're doing is almost like more important than family. Amongst our people, family is more important. That we always, it doesn't matter where we go and where we live, we always come back home. We always come home to see each other, see our parents, our mothers, our fathers, and we live together as a family. We're supposed to care for each other. So I guess I don't know if that answers your question, but that's a little bit of who I am, just in a humble way. But to me, I've been very fortunate. Like I said, I believe when I talk to you, I said I don't. Uh, I would never come onto a show like this and tell you, "Hey, look at me. I know so much," and all I can do is come to you and say, "Look at me. I can only share with you what I learned from all the other people I crossed in my life." And because they weren't stingy with their knowledge, I'm able to carry a little bit. All I can do when I talk is give that to somebody else so that the world can be a better place.
Otsi'tsaken, thank you so much for those words. And in the spirit of that sharing, you know, to have this platform of the internet can really help share these messages and let them spread like seeds on the wind. So we're very grateful for you to be here with us. And thank you so much for that beautiful description of what it means to be a faith keeper. The film, The 12, gathers from this perspective what I see to be 12 faith keepers, 12 incredible elders from different countries around the world to come together to share wisdom, to share a ritual, and to share time and space in that spirit of caring for one another, caring for the earth, and reciprocity. And I'd love to hear from the co-directors of the film a little bit about who they are, their background, and how they got involved in the film. So Lucy, I think I'll go to you first. So you are the co-director, along with Olivier, of the film The 12. You're also the incredible cinematographer who captured everything on camera so beautifully. It's just such a joy to watch. Could you tell us a little bit about your background with filmmaking and how you came to film The 12?
Yeah, so I've been working in documentaries for 15 years now, and I guess how I got involved in The 12 was very much synchronicities with very much how the whole project came together in general. So I was asked by a friend a few years ago, 4 years ago, before we started the film, what the next film would be I would like to work on or be involved in. And I said I would love to work with Indigenous communities and learn more from them. And that night I bumped into someone who knew about the Council of 12 and above, and that a documentary was to be made with that as well, because there was a vision along with putting together the 12 Indigenous elders from around the world and to record their messages in the film to spread to the people, so messages that we just heard can be heard across the world. So I guess it was about speaking out something and then pretty fast. And I personally was thrown into something a very new subject that I maybe was not that deep involved yet. And so the filmmaking itself was for me quite a big transformation and learning from the elders, from each one of them in a very, very different way, a very different energy and vibration, that each of them hold a very different message. I guess they hold, which in total is all the same, but that along the trips, we were all very much tested, in certain subjects. And by the end of the film, which took around 2 years in the making with the edit, where Olivier was together, I would say at the end of that, I was pretty much a different person. So I think that the hope, sometimes I feel the hope is when people watch the film that they can also be taken on that journey by like starting very much in nature, but then going deeper and deeper into what this earth really is about and what the spirit is, and that we need to listen, and and that there's more out there than just the material world that most people, or I myself, was also just kind of stuck in. So that's my background story.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that the beauty of nature to entice people into a deeper connection is such a marvelous thing. And you mentioned you just spoke it out to a friend at a party. Was there something leading up to that, or did you just have a sort of inner calling? There it is, the inner calling.
Yeah, well, sometimes you don't know. Yeah. Why you speak things out, but I was beforehand, I worked on a documentary as well on Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota, which I guess was quite an entry point to learn about Native American wisdom, but it was done in a very, very different way. How the whole film, The 12, was done, it was really not done in the most respectful way, maybe, and not listening. So a lot of mistakes were done, and in the end, the film actually never really got finished. So I think it was like a really great way to see the two contrary projects. If you don't follow the protocols and if you don't listen, then things just don't really work out. And maybe if a film is not supposed to be made, then you constantly have obstacles in the way. And that was pretty much a film like that. So for me, the journey wasn't finished. So I think that's why I might have spoken out. I want to continue to learn, that I just kind of stepped into.
I love that. There was definitely an inner calling that you had that was very, very strong. And then did you meet Olivier first, or how did you become involved with the L'Otsi'tsaken Foundation?
Yeah, I think we pretty much all, we're 9 co-founders and we're all based in London now. And some of us in the team already knew each other, and some came on board later. And I met Olivier and the rest of the team 4 years ago. And yeah, we all pretty much had a similar idea, or all from different backgrounds and different ages and different nationalities, but that we really wanted to create a new world. And maybe all, I can only speak for myself, but maybe coming from a different background, not quite knowing what that world was. But I think then starting the foundation together with that specific mission of trying to find the 12 Indigenous elders and creating the film, for me, I mean, everybody has their own story. For me, it was just, jumping into that and then learning through that what that really means to create a new world. But definitely knowing that something was not quite right with the one that we had or have. So then we all created L'Otsi'tsaken Foundation together. And and now 4 years later, we have many more projects, which Olivier, I'm sure, is also happy to talk about. And so that's how we met. And then obviously making the film together, and now being a team with that as well.
Thanks for that intro, Lucy. Olivier, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got involved with this film, and how did the L'Otsi'tsaken Foundation come into being? Was this your first foray into filmmaking, or tell us a bit about your background?
Well, thank you for asking. I come from a background of marketing and branding, so I've done a lot of narrative, and I've I've always bathed into the power of storytelling and transmitting through lores and powerful narratives, symbolic narratives. And I tried to desperately put that, or put everything together while I was doing marketing, to try to make some sense out of it. And some purpose, but never succeeded. So I left that on the side and became a music producer. And then I started to write some scripts for the films, and then did a lot of different things. The interesting thing about this film is that it's not. It hasn't been created as a film. It's the result of a mission. It's the result of a vision. And for that, you know, everything that Otsi'tsaken was saying is the reflection of how the group of 9 co-founders at Le Ciel actually heard that message. How you know, the value, the powerful value of the principles and the foundational values of wisdom traditions all over the world. And if you hear that message and you start including it in your life by whatever journey your path is, you might be drawn to actually spirituality, but spirituality in the sense, in the non-dogmatic sense. We're not talking about religion, we're talking about connection. And so at one point we decided to create Le Ciel Foundation because we felt we shared the same notion that the problem with our society nowadays is systemic. The system creates a separation between the physical world and the spiritual one. And so in our world, and in our modern world, we live in a universe where we're given only a small glimpse of what the true nature of that universe is. And we're stripped of pretty much any purpose that is the essence of why a soul incarnates on Earth. And so what we're trying to do with Le Ciel Foundation, and the film was one of the visions that we were supposed to implement, one of the missions that one of our co-founders actually was given through an initiation. The goal is actually to spread the message that there is a whole part of knowledge on this earth that needs to be protected, acknowledged, integrated with an open heart, because it makes so much more sense that the proposal we're living with at this very moment, and also be a proof of concept that if you live your life with exactly the same principles and protocols and rituals and ceremonies and gratefulness within your life and purpose, then you can be a Westerner and you can live in a city and have a absolutely beautiful connection with the universe, with other human beings, with all life, with nature, and live a very modern life. And this is the new paradigm we're trying to reach, the one where we have the foundational pillars, values and principles of wisdom, ancestral wisdom. It doesn't need to come from the Amazon or to come from Indian nation, because the same kind of wisdom was there at one point in Europe, in Scotland, or wherever you live. Their elders are everywhere, and the acknowledgement that the value of lineage and elders is something that has such a powerful potential for solutions, for very pragmatic ways to understand the world that trigger new consequences and new potentials and new possibilities. So trying to help the world understand that we should all be faith keepers in the purest meaning of that word, which is keeper of the connection, and being able to actually live in a world where you understand the principles and you understand your role, the important role you have to play as a little, bit in the chain of the whole system, which leads to less fear, more happiness, more joy, more flow, more options than the current one. So this is what Le Ciel is trying to do, and the film is part of those missions.
Thank you. And for any viewers that are with us today who have not yet seen the incredible film, The 12, you can view The 12 live now until Friday at midday on our website. And that is at medicinefestival.com/Moviemedicine. The film is also available on the CL's website. In the film, for anyone who hasn't seen it, you follow 12 elders, as you say, from different countries. I'm just going to mention some of those countries now. You have elders from Australia, Botswana, Brazil, Colombia, Gabon, North America, Japan, Mexico, Nepal, and Siberia. So from every corner of the globe, from all around the world. And you brought them to perform a ceremony, well, not to perform, but to share, to create a ceremony at the UN. And the UN being found in New York on Mohawk territory. And those elders, you in the film, you sort of assigned some words, some qualities to them, each of them. Could you tell us, either Lucy or Olivier, a little bit about the journey of receiving or those qualities being revealed to you, and how those elders sort of came into your awareness? Did you first of all come up with the qualities and then seek out the elders, or what came first? Can you tell us a bit about the journey?
So the whole journey of the film and finding the elders was done through the protocols we've been told, or we've been taught during our initiations in one of the many spiritual cultures in the world. Ours comes from Gabon, and it's called Bwiti. And so everything is done under guidance and under complete surrendering to whatever the plan, the universal plan is. So no, those qualities we gathered through meditation. They were given to us because they were one of the very few hints that we had to start with. We were given the number. We were clearly given that it was supposed to be 6 women, 6 men. We were clearly given the fact that they weren't famous, thought leaders. That they were very discreet, very humble, and that why they were trying to come together, because we weren't at the beginning of the initiative. They actually did it on the spiritual planes, and then they called out to anyone who could actually hear the vision to come and get them and bring them to the UN. We've met a lot of people that actually had exactly the same vision around the same time, and even after the council was completed, people were still getting that transmission. So we were given 6 men, 6 women, and then a list of different countries through meditations and readings and channeling. And then we were given an order, like you should start by this country. And then we would just, sow the seed in the air. We would call the few people we would know in this country and tell the story and really feel like people were thinking that we were totally crazy, because we had nothing more than, it's a woman, we think she's more than 60, and she embodies this particular quality. And so, if you hear about anyone, just please give us a call. And people were like, yeah, okay, sure. And then, 15 days after or a week after, they will call us up and say, you're going to find that strange, but I was at a dinner, and I don't know why I talked about your endeavor, and that person knew someone who might know someone. And through synchronicities and through, like Lucy said, through tests of faith, of integrity, of precision, of group unity, because to be in flow, your group has to vibrate at a high frequency all together. You need to forget about the individuals, otherwise you hit a lot of different obstacles on your way. So everything was guided until we actually met the elder. Some of them were told us openly, yeah, we were expecting your visit. Some others were telling about, stories that they had heard about foreigners who would come and get them. And then, some of them accepted right away. Others had to go into ritual and ceremonies for 2, 3, 4 months, and then came back to us and said, yeah, okay, we'll do it. And the fact that they have that particular quality that they embodied fully acts like a puzzle. When they got together to do this, to co-create this ritual, which was for the good of humanity, to just create another matrix, another help potentialize and manifest into this reality the overall values and principles that these traditions hold, and of course for the happiness of life all around the universe. So that's how it happened. Did I forget something, Lucy?
No, I guess the question was also be if the qualities, if we could mention some of them, and if they were found beforehand or during the trip. And I think the way I remember it, it was pretty much, yeah, as Olivier said, was it a man or a woman and roughly the age? That's what we knew. But then because we were tested on certain things also on these trips, that I think it could also be determined what kind of energy or vibration we're entering while trying to find each elder. So that you were then, as Olivier said, like tested on integrity or maybe precision or more open-heartedness or just surrendering. And but again, like with everything, it was a package. It was a vision, finding these 12, and part of the package was each specific energy that each elder had to hold for the ritual, so that it then clicked as a puzzle and basically created the foundation for a more perfect world that's equal for everyone. So if you have these different qualities together, then it pretty much covers, a good foundation.
With the permanent universal exchange for the benefit of all. How we served spirit and these elders to bring them where their mission brought them. It brought us so much in terms of growth, and actually trained that group to start to incarnate some kind of proof of concept that, well, you can have a crazy vision, finding 12 elders out of 7 billion people without any money, with a time limit, because we knew we had only a year and a half to find them, and go for it and actually succeed in doing so, because you have no expectations and you just let the universe guide you through gratitude for the lessons, the constant lessons that you can take on board, because it's hard. Those kinds, and the film was the same. Filming a film without having no clue of what you're going to film in the next 2 days, and having no possibility of actually calculating a narrative, that was only possible 2 years after filming, to actually understand what actually happened. Yeah. And so, and there is a tremendous value in that. There is a tremendous value in putting yourself back into the place that the true nature that human beings are supposed to be in, which is a state of flow, accepting to be an instrument for something collective, which is way bigger.
It's it's as if you're, I'm seeing all of those qualities unified in one whole that is dynamic and constantly moving, but that is together, like you said, creating that puzzle. For some of our viewers who haven't seen the film, some of the qualities that really spoke to me were, there's one, the womb of creation, multi-dimensionality, and my favorite, the indestructible seed, which I loved.
Which she embodies fully, and when you see her, you And you know, something important also that I need to give thanks for, and we need to give thanks for, is that those qualities were bundled together for the ritual by Otsi'tsaken and you know, it was something that was crucial for the ritual itself as well, to actually be able to bundle everything together energetically and spiritually. So we're very grateful for that, because it was something
Maybe
very important.
If I could just say something about that. You know, I hear you talking about how you went about to find these 12 men.
Oh, they
And
found
how,
us.
and I, what you know, I look at it in a way is that the Creator put them on your path.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
To come and land on your path
Absolutely.
to make this group of people happen. It's just like, even for me, my involvement in that gathering in the United Nations at that time. I was just sitting at home here at my and I one of my cousins who was helping to organize it. She said she came to see me. She says, "I wanted to see if you could come, or you would be willing to come to New York City to do an opening for this gathering of 12." And I really didn't understand any of what was going on, and I didn't really uh, know that think that I was the one to be able to do that. But she said, well, we had asked other people in other parts of the nations, and they weren't able to come and do that. And so the time was getting closer, and they needed someone. So I was kind of like the last seat at the bottom of the bag, I guess. And so I was willing to do that. And when I thought to myself, well, I can't go there as a person to do that. So I asked my Bear Clan chief uh, if he would allow me to go and to do this, and he said, "Sir, go and do this because it's very important. These are the things that nations do." And so, and I invited him to come, but he was at the last moment he was called away to do something in a different direction. So I went with my son and two of the women, one young girl and my cousin, and we went to do that. But we had no, we went there to be supportive of your project. But you know what? What I kind of think of, and I told Annie last night, I said maybe about 15 or 20 years ago, my friend and I, we saw that film Message from the Top of the World a long time ago, where the Kogi came down to talk about what they saw and what was happening. And my friend, he's no longer part of this world. He passed about 10 years ago now. And he said, one day, he said, you and I, we need to go and see them. That was our dream, is to go and to see the Kogi somehow, some way. And really, for us, I guess that was not like a really realistic dream. It was going to happen. But on my path, in that time, I was able to go to New York City and to do that opening for them, and even to wipe their eyes and to kind of bundle their minds in a way so that they could work this to tie them into one large tobacco bag, one mind, one heart of all those people to work to this common goal. And so I was very fortunate that the Creator put that on my path, and and along that, I guess one of my gifts was that I met two men who were part of my dream, was to meet the Kogi, and I felt so I was so honored, and I felt so grateful for that gift. And even they gave me one of the men gave me one of a small woven seed bag, and my cousin said, "You're very lucky because they never give anything away that they bring with them." And so I cherish that, and it's part of my medicine bundle, and I carry that until I die. And I feel so honored that that crossed my path. And and so I was able to throw greetings on behalf of our nation. And one thing that came to me a little later when we were there, I guess in the showing of the film, we kind of it was said that they're on Mohawk land, New York City, and in our memory, I guess, New York City before it was New York, we used to call it Ganuno, place of the hickories, and they used, before it came New York City, they called it Hickory Town. So in our long memory, it was always a piece of the lands that our people were part of. I don't know if we can say we owned that land or we claimed that land, but we were part of that land. And it came to my attention some years after that there were other nations there that said, well, that's not correct. That's our lands. And so I acknowledge that there are other nations where maybe in those lands we uh, crossed each other. Maybe we stepped into their boundary. Maybe they stepped into ours. But in the end, we're just nations of people, cousins that walk upon our mother's body. And we need to just care more for her than to actually say she belongs to us. She doesn't belong to us. We belong to her.
Hmm.
And we need to walk gently on our mother in those lands. So I was given that gift too, to be part of, I guess, the film and all of that part of the 12. But that was, I believe the creator put that on my path, and I'm so honored to do
Okay.
that. I'm still able to sit with you.
Otsi'tsaken, thank you. I wonder if you could tell us a little bit about, in your tradition, in your culture, are there, just as the founders of the Ciel Foundation received their vision to bring the 12 elders together for a ceremony, is there such a vision in your tradition about the unification of different nations?
Yeah, there is. There are a lot of I guess steps in from our creation until now. And I think at the beginning I talked about that every time that we forgot about our original instructions, the creator sent messengers to our people and to us to remind us of our place in this world, in our responsibility to creation. And there we got four sacred ceremonies. I believe I talked about that a little bit more. But after those ceremonies, we forgot about that again. And there came a time amongst our people in the stories that I've heard is that there was a time when we forgot to give thanks again. And now there were times even when we would celebrate war. We would use sacred ceremonies to honor war and killing. And there was warfare in our world, all over our world, and even amongst the Haudenosaunee, the five people of the Longhouse. That was before we were people of the Longhouse. We were separate nations of people living relations, but living in different lands, parts of the land. And we were always at war, and there was bloodshed. They would say sometimes maybe the rivers ran red with the blood. The rivers ran red with the blood of our ancestors who died in warfare. We cherished and we honored war. And and in those times there was now a baby who was born in a place called Tayandanega, just west of us here. And that baby was came into this world with a purpose. And as that baby was born, he was tested to see if he what his gifts were. And people actually thought maybe it was bad medicine that he was born because he came from a mother who had no husband, no man. And so it was a special birth. But he passed that test and he showed to the people that he had a place here. And as he began to grow, he grew very fast. His mind grew very fast. He began as just a young boy to speak about all of these minds of, of a good mind, of power, of righteousness, of working together. And even as a young man now, they say from that Taindanega, he made a boat out of stone, and he crossed the river into Mohawk lands, into the south of the St. Lawrence River. And he came, and they say he came amongst the Mohawks because we were the most warlike people. And he convinced our leaders that war was wrong, that blood on our axes was wrong, that arrows pointing and killing our people was wrong. And so, what he convinced our people now is that the use of a good mind, the three principles that he left, skona means peace, ganigong the use of a good mind, a ceremony mind, a righteous mind, and working together, power. That's what would be the new tools of unification that we would use. No longer a war, no longer a war club, no longer an arrow or a spear. And that's what will bring peace to our world. And so, amongst all of the five nations, the Mohawks, Onondagas, Oneidas, Cayugas, Senecas, they all eventually, he convinced all of those leaders that now we would come together under this one vision, and we would now unify and become people of five nations working together, just like my fingers, tied together in unity. And what would happen? He says now, he brought us this thing called a great law, a law of how we would live in peace, using skona, a good mind, using good words, good hearts, good speech, good minds, spirituality interwoven into everything we do, that we would use that to maintain peace amongst our nations. And he said, from this time on, now, when he convinced them all, he said, now you will be a people of one long house, and the earth now will be your floor, and the sky, the raft, will be the rafters of this long house. Mohawks lived in the east, so now Mohawks would be the eastern door of this one long house, and the Senecas lived in the west, and they would be the western door of this long house, and that we would live in peace forever, never to be. And we took those weapons of war, and through he uprooted the tree of peace, and he put that into the waters below, never to rise again, never to pick them up, to use war as a way of settling disputes. That there's nothing that we can't do if we just sit down together and we use a good mind and we make a decision for the good of all our people, not for our not for our own personal goods. We have to always work for consensus to because whatever we do will affect the children who are not yet born. They need a place to live in peace. And so that's the vision that was brought to our people. And that vision has traveled all over the world, I believe. It became the foundation for the United Nations. Many countries in the world, when they came here in the early years, this is where they saw democracy actually happening. And they took that back to France and back into their worlds. And the ideas of democracy began to grow. And that's where this vision had an impact when it crossed the salt water to the European lands and the lands west of us or east of us. You know, so this vision has come to our people, and we still try to maintain that. Many times, you know, we live in a world 600 years ago when the Europeans came. They used their ways to break up and destroy this mind that we carry. They used education to destroy our tongue, our languages, our culture. The religions came, they destroyed our cultures, they thought, and that we would no longer be who we once were, and that we would now have to become part of their melting pot or part of their multicultural union. We would become good Canadians, good Americans, or whatever. And we would cease to be Haudenosaunee. But 600 years later, our people are still here. We still maintain this, try as hard as we can to maintain this tree of peace that was planted, to take away the things that would destroy it. And our people are still trying hard. Our ceremonies go on. Our people still meet. And the mind that we carry, we can still talk about that. We can't tell the people, oh, it's all roses in our lands. It's not. There are many, many minds that have stabbed our peoples and divided our peoples. And we can't ever say that we have total unity amongst our peoples. We're hurting as a people, but the original seed is still here. And if we cultivate it, if we believe in it, and we use it, then it will never die. That's the seed, and that's the vision that was given to our people. And sometimes maybe we need to go out and talk around the country about that seed. There are men in our lands who would be who are amazing orators, who can talk about these visions and speak, and they do. They go to the United Nations. They've gone to Geneva. They've gone to many places around the world, and they have had some influence in the world. And, but that seed needs to be cultivated. War is wrong. That's not the way that the Creator gave us to solve disputes. Remember, I said when the first human being was made, the Creator gave us a piece of His mind. The Creator gave us His fire and His breath. We need to use the Creator's mind. We need to feel the spirit fire inside of us about who we are and how valuable we are. And we need to find ways to sit down together and unify for the good of the world. And really, human beings are only one little piece of the world. We need to do this for our Mother, the Earth. We need to do this for all of the things on the world and nature. Our Mother is suffering. There's these things called global warming. These things that we're doing to the environment. Our Mother is hurting and she's suffering, and we're the cause. We need to find ways to convince our people that we need to change our path on this world. We need to feel our Mother again. And so I think that's maybe one little piece of a little bit of what I could say for the question I think you posed.
Otsi'tsaken, thank you so much for that very insightful sharing. It's really beautiful to hear some of the traditional stories, and I wish we had many hours to sit with you and listen, because we can learn so much from them.
Well, you can come and visit me anytime.
Thank you.
Just bring the hot dogs and the hamburgers, and I'll sit with you.
Okay, I'll make sure I do. One of the themes you touched on there was Mother Earth and unifying in order to tread more lightly and gently on Mother Earth. And I feel that was definitely a huge theme with all of the elders. They seem to all share a strong experience that the earth is a living, breathing being, and most of them think of her as a mother. Lucy or Olivier, is there any particular stories that stand out, or any of your elders that you sat with that you felt really embodied that wisdom? I suppose all of them, really, and everyone can see that in the film, but are there any last stories you want to share?
Yeah, I guess I can try, which is, again, as I mentioned before, like I learned so much on a personal level from each elder, and I think one of them was that also Otsi'tsaken mentioned was the Wiwa and the Kogi, for example, that they really, really do embody that the earth is a living being that you can't just separate. And I think for me, before I actually got to Colombia to film, I was still not really in the surrender mode and still trying to do it the old ways of trying to control and set things up, and and having a lot of inner conflicts with things, and realizing how exhausting that is, and how negative these thoughts are towards oneself, and they really pointed out that even thoughts are alive, and that also harms the earth, because you have even negative thoughts against yourself. I mean, against other people, that's obviously another thing, but even against yourself, that's something that the earth and the universe picks up. So you really have to start to control your thoughts, because that's what you're manifesting to bring out. And that for me was such a wake-up call, that you're not only polluting the earth with garbage and material things, but also with energetic things like thoughts. So that's for me one story. I don't know if Olivier has another one to contribute.
The main, am I on mute? No. The main story for me was that out of the 12 elders, we met a little more, and we met with different cultures as well during the trips, and it's the commonality. It's not about stories; it's about transmission. And so everything that is said, there's not one word that has been said here that I don't agree fully with, and that pretty much any culture and wisdom tradition will not agree with, because there's a global transmission that yes, Earth is alive, yes, the universe is there's way more dimensions of comprehension to the universe that what we focus on a constant basis. So that commonality is the most powerful thing to me, because all these elders have an absolutely amazing relationship with nature, and a huge respect for the natural order of things. So I don't have any particular story. The story itself is how they all think alike, and they all have the exact same experience and the same relationship, which is something to be inspired by, because that level of relationship also means that you have a very high level of comprehension of who you really are, and what your actual role in this great big beautiful game is. So and we can see the convergence of that at the moment. I remember I'm an old guy. I was born in 72, and I can still remember 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, how the message was constantly, this is what we need to do. This is what we need to address. We've been doing that for 3 years, and before that, 10 years before, and we keep on meeting loads of different people who are actually doing it. They are past the need to. They have integrated it, and they're acting on it to actually change things. And more, and especially during the COVID, we've seen all of these individuals and organizations be attracted to one another. And there's more and more something that is starting to look like a global movement and a global understanding of what's at stake, and the most important for me is there are things that resonate as being very true when you listen with your heart. When someone tells you the earth is alive, you immediately agree with it within your heart. It makes total sense. It's an absolute truth, and then your head gets into the way, and then you might have another kind of discourse and then an inner battle about it. But that you're very true. The closest to truth you get, perceived by the heart, those kind of things, and the entirety of the message of the transmission resonates as being absolute truth. And so yes, this is what we need to do. And yes, this is what we're doing. And we're not enough people, obviously, but we will get to the tipping point at one point. Things need to go fast, because all the different nations, all the different wisdom traditions around us, they have that sense of urgency. We have 4 to 5 years to actually, start building strong foundations to what we call change, and not just be an inspiration or an aspiration, but actually have builders, have people that get into the doing, and reinvent governance models, societies, and of course base everything that they do on wisdom, and on spirituality, because the interweaving of spirituality and everyday life is essential to success, to happiness, and to changing the world. So it's happening, not as fast as we would like it to, but it's accelerating as well. And so we're very hopeful with what's happening, even though these are hard times at the same time. The harshness of the actual situation is also a source of lessons to be learned.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up the COVID coronavirus times that we all find ourselves in now. Just as we are all being forced to connect more online, and actually new networks are being created between people, between groups, between organizations. There is, like you say, that acceleration of these new models of governance, whether it is with where is our food coming from, where is our water from, how do we gather, how do we connect, how do we keep relationships alive across different countries, borders, but equally at the same time, it's forced us all to stop taking aeroplane flights and to actually ground into our local environments more and more. And Otsi'tsaken, I wondered if you could share if you had any thoughts about, maybe, is this a message from the earth, do you think, or what is your take on the current coronavirus?
Well, when as you began to talk about it, that's exactly what I wanted to say to you, but I didn't want to interrupt. But I kind of think just like at the beginning of the world, when we forgot to value life, the Creator sent us this message called death, and death reminds us every day now that life is so precious and so valuable. And I believe now, like the earth and so many things are suffering, even human beings. We've we've almost put our hands or ourselves in place of the Creator. We become we with technology and all of these things have almost become more powerful than creation that we think, or the controllers of that technology think. And this message, coronavirus, is almost like, in a way, a message, isn't it? That human beings and all the power that we would have, we can't control nature. And this virus that is produced from nature, look what it's doing in the world all around us. It's shutting down the world. It's just like one of my friends, he says the old people, when they talked of a flu that was here in 1900, and many of our people died. I think it was called the yellow fever. And the people used to say that was sent to us, that the corn, on the kernels on the corn, you're taking out the kernels, and that's human beings. You're thinning out the population. And isn't that one of the problems in this world? That our population is too large. We can't, this Mother Earth can't sustain us because we have our diet and our appetite is too large. That now we're, digging holes in her body. We're sucking the veins out of her body. We're sending our excrement into her rivers. We're sending our poison through her veins, fracking and things like that. We're shaking up the earth all around us for this appetite that we can't seem to quench. And maybe the earth is sending us a message that we have to change. This thing we call global warming is only part of that, or this is part of that. That this is a message that's being sent. Is something has to change. And I think we talked about that last night when we had just a telephone conversation. But I believe, you know, that like when a virus or a flu bug enters our body, and that flu bug will make us sick. And when we get sick, we get feverish. We burn, our blood burns, our bodies shiver, our bodies shake, our bodies spew, our body is confused, and all because of this virus that enters our body. And the body now, our human beings as a body, when we're sick, that body now has to fight off that disease that's in us. And only two things can happen. Either that body will win and defeat that germ, or that germ will kill us. And you know where I think we are? Human beings have gotten so far, stepped so far away from the cycle of life. Now in those books they say that man will have dominion over the earth. We will buy and sell our mother and own her. When do we ever hear them talk about the earth is our mother? She's alive. She cries. She suffers. When do we ever hear people talk about her in that way? And we have to understand that now. Our mother is hurting and suffering, and we are the disease that's affecting her body, human beings. So our mother has two options, right? Either she will, uh, either she will, we will defeat her and use her up and kill her, and our mother will fail, and that will be a great sorrow in this world. Or she will eliminate us. We are the disease that affects this whole world because we have stepped out of line, the cycle of life. And our mother, I think, is doing those things now. These are all messages. The coronavirus, other viruses come into our world. They're all messages. Global warmings is a message. Tsunamis are messages. Volcanoes are messages. Dying birds falling from the sky, it's messages. So many things are here telling us we got to change our path. And you know what I tell people? We think human beings that we're so powerful that we can control everything with our money, in our computers, in our guns, or our machines. But I'll tell you, our mother is stronger than all of those things. When our mother, the earth, has determined that we need to be put in our place, she will do that. And she won't be gentle. One of my friends, Oren Lyons, I heard him speak, and he says, when our mother is going to change, she's not going to be gentle with us. And she will take care of herself as life has to continue. So this is a message to me that I think we need to understand. But in some ways, I think I have said that to people in my own mind as well. Native people or people, even the 12, they can travel around the world, right? And they can bring these messages and try to convince the population we need to make a change. But the ones controlling the money and the bombs, the ones controlling the armies, the ones controlling the machines that dig into the earth and suck the air and the blood out of our mother. We haven't convinced them. And they still continue to do their rape of our lands and our mother. And she suffers because of that. But what we can do, we still have that in our reach. Native peoples in our lands, Native peoples in those worlds, our cousins, the Kogi, they have great power here in their belief, in their connection with the earth. Our people in the east, our people in the north that believe here in our mother and their ceremonies, we can still continue the ceremonies. We can still burn our tobacco or our tobacco or kanik or whatever we use to connect with creation. And creation can still hear us. That there are people in this world who still care. And maybe our mother will not be so harsh when she makes this connection. But our mother has she has time on her hands. I said last night, all she has to do is change her axis, right? For the next 10,000 years, the ice ages will come back. And those will be covered by maybe 1 mile thick of ice. And that ice will grind these concrete buildings and steel into the ground, into dust. All life will end. Maybe in 20 million years from now, she'll melt her axis will change. She'll melt the earth again. Human beings won't be here. Many things on the earth won't be here. And when our mother has healed herself, now she'll replenish the earth with life. And the cycle of life will continue. These are things that we can do still. All over the world, we have drums. We have voices, and we throw our songs and our spirits in the world. Our mother will hear our songs. She'll feel our spirit and our energy. We can do that. And we need to do that.
Otsi'tsaken, thank you so much for those words of wisdom. It's a really beautiful point, I think, to bring our conversation to a close, giving us those hopeful words of how we can maintain our connection with Mother Earth and each other. So thank you for your time. Thank you for your presence. Thank you for all of you. Olivier, thank you. Lucy, thank you. And thanks to our viewers at home. If you want to see the 12 film, go to our website, medicinefestival.com/Moviemedicine to watch the 12 yourself.
On my part, I just wanted to thank everybody for listening to what I had to say and having a little bit of confidence enough in me to listen to what I have to say. And I often say, whatever I spoke from my heart and from my belief. And I just hope that it shares and touches your hearts and your spirits. Maybe it will help.
Olivier, it looks like you're speaking, but I think you're muted.
About that, I just wanted to add something about the film so that people understand that it's not a traditional film. It is a transmission by the elders. So, like we've said in every pre-screening, they should try to switch off their brain and go into their heart and watch the film as a meditation, because then they might get dreams, they might get synchronicities, things might happen in their lives that will make sense because they've seen that film in those conditions.
You heard it, folks. Lucy, do you have any final words to share?
No, just to say thank you so much for putting this together and for creating this Q&A and and for helping to spread the film, because that's all that we wish to do, is to really spread the messages all across the world. So thank you for helping with that.
And if anyone wants to check out all the initiatives that we have on top of the film, they can go to lucielfoundation.com and find out everything about us.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. Yeah, Medicine Festival really aims to be a platform to share the wisdom of the world's Indigenous people and to come together to learn and to grow and find out what it really means to be the medicine ourselves that our lovely guests have so eloquently spoken about today. We at Moviemedicine are taking a little break for now. We will return at the beginning of August with a special film, a world premiere of a film that follows a delegation of Maasai representatives from Tanzania and Kenya who spent 2 weeks in the UK working alongside British museums to decolonize cultural spaces by making them aware of their colonial history and how this can be addressed responsibly. Insight Share is the name of the organization that made this film and that created the Living Cultures Initiative, which supports Indigenous peoples to protect their territories, languages, and cultures using participatory video. Living Cultures is a growing movement across Asia, Africa, and the Americas, uniting Indigenous communities across borders to celebrate, foster, and protect their cultures with the principle of self-determination at its very heart. So look out for the announcements for that. The Q&A will be on August the 5th, and the film will be available to screen from August the 4th. And follow Medicine Festival on social media and join our email newsletter list for more information and the latest news about what we have in store. We have some very exciting announcements coming up in the next couple of weeks. So on behalf of Medicine Festival and all of our viewers, thank you to all our guests to be a part of this Q&A today. And yeah, Otsi'tsaken, I wonder if you had very short words in your native tongue that you wish to share with us, just to send a blessing or bring the circle to a close in a good way. We'd be very honored if you would say a couple of short words.
Oops.
Oh, I think the messages are coming through the ethers. Okay.